Greetings, Poe fans. Welcome to another edition of Poe UnPlugged. I am Carmen Bolden.
And I am Jeannie Smith, and we are
The Poetastic Two.
Come zoom with us into the Unbook Club dedicated to the works of Mr. Edgar Allan Poe.
Welcome, everyone. We are once again back for our Poe Unplugged in this wonderful month of October. And this month we are going to discuss Alone, the poem by Edgar Allan Poe. Yes, very cool, Dr. Jeff. I love it. You printed it out. Awesome. Now, one of the wonderful things about this is that it never got published until 1875. Now, they didn't actually think there was a lot of people saying that no, it wasn't actually Poe work or anything. And I think they finally confirmed it that it was one of his works and that they got it, an idea that he wrote it around about 1829. So when he was about 20 years old. And I was thinking to myself, thinking about what was, happening in his life around that time. And I'm like, was that like before or after he went into the army? So I think, wasn't that right before he joined the army?
It would have been before.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Wait. If they're saying, wait, are they saying that they think it was written?
They're saying it was 1829. So he would been about 20 years old.
He would have just gone into
yes.
Well, he would have been in the army actually for a little while.
Yeah, because he lie about his age to join?
He did. He did.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, I had to think back to that part of my.
And see, I know that's kind of confusing because you have to remember he actually lied and said he was
lied about his age,
but he was like 18 at the time.
Mm-hmm. So and he didn't have permission.
Yeah, of course not. I mean, why? All right, so I'll let you guys start. What's your, ideas, thoughts, attitudes? Just give me something about Alone. Who wants to start?
I love this poem. This is like one of my all-time favorites. It's just I really, really relate to this. I'm pretty much been an outcast my entire life. So when I read something like this, the sense of like being alone, whether it's like seclusion of you're secluding yourself or you just feel different than other people, it's just something I can really relate to. And I think like there's a different dynamic in the poem where he switches to the part where he actually says like he knew he was different when he was born essentially, but then he has like this dawn, like literally like a dawn. He kind of sees why he is different. To me, he kind of took it as like he sees this demon, which may be like a literal, not literal demon, but maybe like figuratively, maybe for him alcohol or whatever it is for anyone to relate to yourself, that this is maybe why he's different or like, like relate to yourself. But I love the poem. I think it's awesome.
Or perhaps the demon is his gift, which maybe he thought was a blessing and a curse.
That's
because some of what he wrote might not have been understood or appreciated by people because, it was in a horrific vein or would be in the future.
Right. I kind of, this might sound a little strange, but it almost seems like something that was written quite some time ago, obviously, one of his earlier works. It almost has that teen angst kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
If you understand what, like the oh woe is me aspect, in the sense that the demon may have been the fact that, or the thing that made him different may have been the fact that he was an orphan, the fact that he had no money, the fact that, his father couldn't stand him. Like, that's kind of what I get from that. If that makes any sense. So that's kind of what it says to me. But that's just to me.
Yeah. Well, and I'm right there with you because if it's fitting that he wrote it around about his, late teens, early 20s, that is very much a hard time of life for many people because you're in a transition. And then also the way I read it, I'm right there with you. It was a lot of like teen angst, but at the same time, it's like to me, it's like the development of life. Like when you're a child, you're brand new, you're innocent, when you're first born, you start getting your personality and getting everything by what's around you and by the people you interact with. And then by your teen years, you're, getting hit by all the emotions and the wonderful hormones. So it kind of feels like you are a demon in disguise because you don't know half the time whether you're to be happy or sad, or kind of like going through menopause, but it's puberty. So, but at this time, and I mean, when I thought about it, when I found out when they said that they think this is when it was written, all I could think about was if he was in the military at this time, and from all accounts and purposes of everything that's kind of been recorded about that, he truly kind of felt alone being in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So I just, I mean, he took a different name, So in essence, when I was reading this, I'm like it's like the demon is the Edgar Perry, in my opinion. That's who he is, and that's why he thought he was alone. Now, I don't think he actually named it Alone. I think they actually named it for him, or titled it for him, based on what he had wrote.
Yeah, because I remember like when I first read this poem a long time ago, and I was thinking maybe hopefully somebody knew, and I was like way too lazy to look it up, so I apologize. I thought I had saw it entitled "The Outsider," or I might be just being crazy. I don't know, or maybe I just made that up. I don't know. And then with like when they published it, they titled it Alone. Because I had seen the original, because he wrote it in that woman's book. Excuse me, I can't think of her name. Like that poet chick, and everybody was trying to court her, so they were like writing poems in there, and she would kind of take it as like flirting with her. And
right
here, yeah. So I lost what I was thinking about, but yeah, hi
Carmen. Yeah.
I was thinking it used to have a different title. That's what it was about. But yeah, I thought like I had seen his handwritten in there because he actually wrote his brother Henry's poem in there as well, and signed it as Henry Poe. But for some reason, I think he gave it a title and it wasn't Alone. But
yeah, I remember reading something about that too. Go ahead, Jeff.
I read that he dated the poem March 17th, 1829, and that would mean that just 1 month before he wrote this, his foster mother had died.
That would make sense too.
So that would add to his melancholia.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I read about this as well, so this was good for me to jump in right here.
Good.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think one of the things about this poem is that anyone that reads it, it will call to you, no matter what. I mean, no matter what place in life you are, whether you're young and a teenager reading it, mid-age or old or whatever, because to me the poem is really good because it can fit any aspect of your life, anything that might be happening at that time. And so I think that's one of the things that makes it so worldly or just appropriate at any time. I mean, it's grief to me. That's what it was,
Yeah.
the whole thing. Whether he be demon, whether he be, the good, the bad, the ugly. Now we're going into Clint Eastwood there. But anyway. So, yeah.
Sorry.
So, yeah. So anyway, I mean, this was, I'm probably gonna hate saying this, but as far as personalized, I think this is his most personalized poem out of everything I've read of his. I mean, yes, I can see him in his other works like The Raven and, El Dorado and all those, but to me, Alone is the closest I can ever see of just being Poe. Not being a narrator, not being anything, just being Poe.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong in that, or just is anybody else get that feeling? Because I mean, it just, you can feel his pain and everything else that he does, but to me, this was this was the most I could feel everything.
Yeah, I agree, Jeannie. And like even like kind of dissecting some of the lines, when he talks about the passions, it was around line 4, being it's like he could not be a poet around his foster family or his foster father. And I don't have the poem pulled up right the second, because I seriously got here, put my stuff down, and turned on the computer. But well, let me find the line.
Hold on,
Actually,
I've got it up right here.
okay, actually,
You
because it's
said
not
what, line 4?
line 4. Line 4.
My passions from a common spring. Is that the one?
My passions with it, and say the second part of it.
The common spring from the same source I have not taken. My sorrow I could not awaken, my heart to joy at the same tone.
Yeah, so it's like his passions at that age were that he was a true poet, and he couldn't share that with his foster father. I mean, he could with his foster mother. And so what he loved, he could not express to somebody that should have been a huge influence on him, but it turned out so horribly with, John Allan. And so that made him feel even more isolated as well, that he didn't have a male figure, a father figure that he could look up to at this point. It's kind of where I took that line from.
It makes sense, because we were already discussing that he's pretty much right in the middle of his army stint while he wrote this.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that he probably went in the army is because he did feel alone, and he was trying to find some kind of acceptance. And he probably wasn't getting any kind of acceptance anywhere in the military, because they're not exactly known for being love and supportive and, pat you on the back for a good job. There are most of the, the hard, tough love. I'm not saying they don't respect you. I'm just saying that it's not like, being in the bosom of a mother's love, pretty much. So
yeah. Well, and even back then it was worse than, I think they've come around a little bit more now and taking, emotions and feelings a little bit more serious with what
to
people
some
go
extent.
through. Yeah. But back then, no.
Yeah. Well, and at that time also the military was still in its infancy. It was barely 30 years old at that time. So it was more, they were still getting a little some of order in it and getting more military, because in 1829 it was kind of right before we went to the Mexican-American War, right after the War of 1812. So, but it was still in that we were in a scuffle for the Texas independence at the time. So, but yeah, he definitely was writing this from a point of grief for his loss of his, stepmother, not stepmother, foster mother, right? Foster mother, is that what they called her?
Yeah.
So, and I can see that. And oh, by the way, Holly, the lady's name was Lucy Holmes. Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the one where that he had wrote it in there. Yeah, it was like kind of like her way of like getting guys to kind of like court her, kind of like flirting with her with poetry or whatever. But his was the only one that wasn't flirty. Everybody else was like, oh, you're so beautiful, you're this and you're that. And Edgar Allan Poe, that's what he wrote in there, which is awesome, right? Stand out.
Well, what I think is very interesting is this poem is close to being Poe flirty. So this is like Poe flirty,
Well, I will say, now that Dr. Jeff
piqued my interest.
Yeah, what Dr. Jeff said about the demon being like a blessing and a curse in one, I love that concept, and that just fits so perfectly. Like, it did not come to me. I love it.
Yeah. I'm sorry I missed that. I would have liked to have heard that. That is a really good point, Jeff. That is a really good point.
It's actually, it's going to change the next time I read the poem. It's definitely, well, I already changed it for me. I'm going to have to read after we get off of this and read it again.
Yeah, because the thing I wrote down about that last line was of a demon in my view. coming from the rest of heaven is blue, before it was like, is the demon Poe reflecting in a mirror? Is it the demons inside him?
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting that mirror image kind of picture in my head of him like staring at himself. But it's like, he wasn't what you would think of as a demon as evil, but so it was like I thought more of his demons. But and then the happiness is around him outside of his own world, but he can't experience that, is kind of what I kind of took from it, that isolation again. Yeah, but I like Jeff's point better. That's really a really good point.
Well, I got when he said that, when the rest of heaven around me in heaven is blue,
Mm-hmm.
To me, that just means that everybody else is experiencing something different at the time. And so even though everyone else may be seeing, having joy, having that blue heaven, having that moment, he's fighting his own demon, his demon of whatever it could be. And sometimes you do that alone, because it's
Mhm.
very rare to find somebody who is experiencing something like you are at the exact same moment that you are. So he feels that he sees the heaven of everything else around him, but at the moment he can't break free of his demon. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's to me is like the perfect description, like Jeff said, of what the whole poem is about. It's like Poe is trapped. I mean, this is, not just alone, but this is his own trap. I mean, and to me, this is his walled up version of his own world,
Yeah.
because he always talks about, premature burial. He's being trapped in something. You've got being walled up in the cask of Amontillado. You've got, all these other places to
Sinking
where
ships.
exactly sinking ships. So to me, like I was saying, this to me is the perfect Poe of him saying, this is my own drowning. This is my own trap. This is everything. So help me. It's kind of like
Yeah.
it was a help me poem.
Yeah. And the demons also made me think of Annabelle Lee, just the demons down under the sea, and
Yep.
just those similar themes coming out. And it's
I
like,
wonder.
yeah.
Now, I was just wondering why this one is just so underrated. Why don't we use this one? Because to me, this would be a perfect poem to use in middle school and high school because of the hormonal and the
Yeah.
melancholy of the students and where they're at right now.
Yeah.
This would be a perfect thing for them to help express themselves. Am I wrong?
No, not at all. I mean, that's why I said what I said.
Yeah.
Because it really does it has that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
more I was reading it, I should have been grading papers, but I was doing my research while I was waiting for parents to come in. And I was like, I actually thought about adding this when we do Annabelle Lee next 9 weeks in the spring, because I'll already add Dream Within a Dream, and I may just throw this one in too, because this is so good, and I think the kids would really dive into this one.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's short enough to where it wouldn't take up a whole lot of information or a whole
Yeah.
lot of time in the class.
Yeah.
But I wonder, because I've heard, speaking of, Will was asking about anybody watching The Fall of House of Usher yet. And I
Mhm.
also haven't started watching it yet. Like Carmen said, we're kind of waiting to do, kind of on our own to watch it together.
Yeah.
But
I've been out of town, what, Jeannie, almost the whole month of
Yeah,
October, except
you
for
guys
being
are
at
always doing
school.
something, yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
been a
don't
busy
go out.
month.
I watched it all. I watched one day. Like, was the second day was released. I told my husband, I bought Netflix for the month. We were gonna watch the whole thing in a day.
There you go. But I have been reading some reviews here and there, not a lot. But someone said something about how it's not all about the fall of House Usher, but there's so many different nuances where they're pulling in a lot of Poe, a lot of his other
That's what I heard too.
aspects and works. So I'm like, are we going to treat this like some kind of scavenger hunt? Because that would be kind of cool. It's like the fall of the House of Usher becomes a scavenger hunt of finding all the allusions that they may have to all of Poe's works. So,
oh, it's a lot.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's why. That's what Levi and I are going to be talking about.
Ooh,
nice.
Cool.
Nice.
So we look forward there.
I'm gonna have to have like the beginning of the first half of the episode is gonna, or at least the first third is gonna have to be spoiler free.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh yes.
Spoiler
definitely.
free. And then I'm gonna do a countdown 3, and I'm gonna be like, all right, we're gonna be spoiling it. Sorry guys, but here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, they even brought in Toby. Damn it! Yay!
Oh, nice.
Yeah, some guy named Toby is speaking, and one of the characters says, "Toby, damn it."
That's right.
Yeah, there was a lot of "Bet Your Devil Your Head." I don't want to give anything away, but I was kind of surprised. I said to my husband, I was like, I wonder if we just didn't do that on Poe Unplugged, if I would have picked up all those like one-liners from that story. That's fine.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, maybe we could turn it into Follow the House of Usher drinking game.
Oh my goodness.
There are so many references. It's actually overboard. It was kind of like you'd be drunk within the first episode.
Are there references to
first 10 minutes?
Yeah. Are there any references to the poem alone? Did y'all catch any?
Not that I've seen.
Okay.
Not that I remember. No.
But I didn't read
they
the
do a
poem
couple
until tonight
verbatim quotes,
this time,
but
so.
I don't know of that one particularly. Yeah.
Be interesting if,
Yeah, you're gonna have to go back and rewatch it.
That's a great idea, Will. Do a live Zoom and watch the show together.
I like
that. Would be a Poe Unplugged. There we go.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting. We could give our own little commentary. We'd be like Siskel and Ebert for the Poe world.
Would be Mystery Poe Theater 1800.
There we go. Mystery Poe Theater 1800. There we go.
Or 1809, 1849. Yeah,
exactly.
1809. Micah's doing the
little laughing crying
cry emoji. Did y'all talk about, because I wasn't even sure what time I jumped in. Like I said, I just ran in here. Did y'all talk about the part of the poem where the line of "in its autumn tint of gold"? Did y'all mention anything about that?
No, we hadn't gotten that far.
Okay. When I read that line, my first thought was Robert Frost with "Nothing Gold Can Stay." Jeff, did you think the same thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Stay gold, pony boy," because that's the with the outsiders. And I just felt like with thinking about Robert Frost's poem and some of the other things that Poe mentions, the fountain, the mountain, the sun, the autumn leaves, the lightning, the thunder, that even though a mountain is something that's going to be there, it erodes, it changes, and the fountain could stop eventually. But all of the things he mentioned right in those few lines, they're all fleeting, just like childhood is fleeting. It doesn't stay, just like the poem, "Nothing Gold Can Stay." And so in a way, I was almost like, both of these poems could be paired together to compare contrast, because there's a lot of nuggets within both that are comparable. And so then I'm thinking, did Robert Frost read this poem and kind of borrow?
Possibly.
So any thoughts? What do y'all think?
Well, I think it's interesting that when you point out those particular words and stuff, all I can think about is the Transcendentalist.
Yeah.
Because, I'm thinking
nature.
That's pretty much what they were kind of all about. I mean, Walden's Pond comes to mind, and those others, but at the same time, in one aspect, I think that Poe was pulling out those particulars because, in my opinion, is that the seasons are so volatile and they're so different. And that is the one thing that we all, no matter where we are in the world, there's always going to be some kind of differences, like thunder and lightning. You usually don't have thunder and lightning without having rain. So
Yeah.
that could be the epitome of tears. You go
Yeah.
through the shock of lightning, of that shock, and then you have that thunder,
Death.
which is,
Death
yeah,
could be that.
and that thunder is your whole reverberation of dealing with that. And then the tears, which would be the rain. And then autumn, of course, autumn has always been described as the month is where everything dies. Fall is
Mhm.
where everything is dying,
Right.
because then winter is where you go and everything is completely covered and walled up, basically. So, and then you don't have until spring, and then you're recovering again. So I think
Mhm.
alone is his, is like you said, it's his next step of where he's reaching out, and then he's not gotten there, but he's in his autumn right now. He's in
Yeah.
his death throw.
And one of the things I read was it was almost foreshadowing of his early death, that he didn't live a long life. And so I thought that was kind of a very interesting thing. And when you think about that, what Jeannie, you just said about the autumn of the years, that also
Uh-huh.
makes me think of a Frank Sinatra song.
Oh yeah.
Also, a very
And
good year.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And yeah, I mean, it's like he was halfway through his life when he wrote this, but he kind of was close to being in the autumn of his years when you think about how old he was when he died.
Well, and on that same aspect, during that time, the life expectancy was not that long anyway.
Yeah.
So, and plus he had already lost his mother. He didn't know who his father was. He just lost his foster mother.
Hmm.
So death was death was his friend, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And so he was trying to fight it, but knowing that it was an eventuality. It was nothing you could escape from. But to me, Poe doesn't really, what am I trying to say? Isn't talking mostly about death, in my opinion. It's like he wasn't afraid of death. It's that he hated the emotions that went with it, the things that caused him to feel what he did. You know, the helplessness, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Hmm.
Because I mean, think about it. He had to watch Annabelle Lee die. Or not Annabelle Lee, but Virginia. He had to watch
Yeah.
Virginia. I mean, might as well have been Annabelle Lee. But I mean,
Yeah.
he's had to watch all these people in his life that would have been his foundation leave him, and leave him alone, and leave him to deal with all of this by himself. So I
Yeah.
I just I just think, and I wonder if he had originally titled it, like Holly said, if it had been originally titled The Outsider, that would be another reason that he used the terminology of the demon at the very end,
Hmm.
because he wanted to be exorcised out of, he was being exorcised out of life
Hmm.
of everyone else. So
I have a weird thing about this poem. I love the line, but it kind of confuses me. The line where it says, I'm probably gonna butcher this, like, all I loved alone.
Hmm.
That's
uh-huh.
like a weird line for me, because he's saying like everything I love, like whether it's a woman or poetry, he's loved alone. So it's this sense of, where's this isolation coming from? Because if he loved this, like, how, why does he feel that no one else loves what he loves? It's not like he's not being loved. It's not like, being returned on him. It's everything that he cares about is not cared about by other people. At least that's how I read it. It's not like, so it's like this weird sense of what makes him feel that way, because even as like an outsider myself, like the things that I care about, I know other people care about too, even if that may not be reflected onto myself. I just feel like it's a beautiful line and it sounds amazing, but there's like a lot of complexity to it. And I'm not really sure what he necessarily meant for the reader, or if that was supposed to be for us to kind of divulge ourselves. I don't know.
Well, I guess think about it coming from like a writer's aspect.
Yeah.
Like I have always had a very hard time sharing my poetry with other people, because all it takes is one person that you're really excited about sharing it with, and have them be like, "Oh, that's nice." And it makes you feel all of a sudden like someone just attacked your child and told you it was the ugliest baby they'd ever seen, you know?
I've experienced that. I get that one.
Right. So, I mean, it's like at the time, he really was trying to become a writer. And I mean, Tamerlane was not exactly very well received at all, and so when you put yourself out there like that, being so young, having that kind of rejection,
Yeah.
or even some of these people that, maybe not everyone shared his same like styling. Not everyone liked his style. He wasn't everybody's cup of tea when it came to writing. And, I mean, John Allen certainly didn't believe in anything that he did, but, I think that's what that line is meaning.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of teenagers do go through that, thinking that all the things that they really love about life, no one possibly can understand it. No one possibly, like, everybody hates it. Nobody loves it. And that in and of itself can be a form of isolation.
Yeah.
And I think we as fangirls and fanboys can relate to that idea of everything I loved alone, because, so much of what we love, other people don't love. The mundanes don't know or care about House of Secrets 92 or Amazing Spider-Man 121.
That is very
Exactly.
true.
Nice deep cuts. Amongst friends.
Exactly. See?
Yes.
And that makes a lot of sense in the whole, in the whole aspect of when you're looking at it from your own internal point of view. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, each one of us, we love what we love, but yes, in an instance, we are alone with that love, because what the love that you might feel for something else may not be the equal to the love that I have for something. So, I mean, it could just be that he was saying that I do feel alone, and it's not the same as loneliness. And that's one of the things that a lot of people kind of get,
confused.
in my opinion, a lot of people get kind of confused that, feeling alone and feeling lonely to me are two different things. And it just, and that to me is the epitome of what Poe is writing about here. Is he feels alone, not only just in his love, but in his life and his experience that he's going through at this moment. But that doesn't mean that he's lonely. Does that make sense? Am I just
Yeah,
I
no, it
know,
does.
it makes absolute sense. It was what I was thinking.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Will added, anytime I try to brag about a new song or album I've just heard, I get really bummed when they say cool and change the subject. Absolutely. Because it's like, you're not interested in what I have to say.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
And it's also
I'm more used to it now that when I
When
was
you're
younger.
you take
when
a
you're
lot of
younger, it
offense
cuts.
to it. Yeah. You get your
It
feelings
hurts.
hurt. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And then Micah added, from his unpublished rough draft from 2 Starbucks, same street twice, with their autumn pumpkin spice, Poe was a prophet. I call him a Poe-roffet. Just saves time. That's great.
A Poe
Nice. Oh Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
thanks, Micah.
That's great.
I
Now
And
suddenly
great.
got a
speaking of Micah, if you haven't listened to our interview with him, it was fantastic. So definitely check it out.
yeah. Holly had already, because I'd made mention of it at the
Andy.
beginning, so
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
they had already heard
It
it
was
and they were
good.
excited
It was
about it.
good.
I'm good.
But
I
yeah,
know I'm
now
all
I've
cut
got
up. You guys need more content. Come on, guys.
yeah,
We're coming.
Oh
We're
my
coming.
God.
we're trying.
Oh,
No, but now thanks to Micah, I have a picture of Poe standing on the sidewalk holding a Starbucks cup, you know, doing like a live performance of something in a rap version. I'm
Oh,
like,
if only.
yeah,
and
if
then
only.
where I go is just
I can
because
make
I
that
love
happen.
the genre of 40s, 50s, 60s. I'm thinking of Poe in a black turtleneck and like black pants and a beret, reading at a beatnik poetry.
He did poetry.
Well, but his mustache would have to be cut. He'd have to have that
Oh.
smaller mustache,
Or,
you
That's
or
know.
yeah,
true.
or that. Or, yeah.
Oh, Lord,
is-
and have the snaps going on once he's done
Absolutely.
on the the smoke in the air. Oh my Lord,
Yeah.
I can just smell it. It's but I mean that
Jeannie's
and the
worst
other thing.
nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I think
Yeah.
Jeff, were you going to say something?
Speaking of the Raven, at some of Maya Angelou's speaking engagements, she performed the Raven as a rap.
Oh,
Really?
oh,
Yeah.
very
How did I
neat.
not know that?
I don't. Is that like on YouTube or?
I don't know, but she did it when she spoke in Nashville years
Oh, that
ago.
is
Wow.
really neat.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is really neat. Now,
Hmm.
Jeff, have you ever taught alone when you were teaching?
No, I always do Annabelle Lee, and I'm going to do
Okay.
it on Monday. As a matter of fact, I
Oh, nice.
retired from Tennessee State University, but
Uh-huh.
this semester I am teaching one freshman English class at Nashville State Community College.
Oh, awesome. Oh, that
Yes.
is so cool. Okay.
And Annabelle Lee is one of the poems that I like to use. I print off the poems and give the students copies. Another one I love to read to them is The Earl King by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe.
Nice.
But yes, I'm on Monday. I'm going to do Halloween horrors from the past, present, and future. And
Oh, I love that.
we're going to look at Annabelle Lee and a story by Lisa Morton called The Fear of Eight Legs. It's a very scary short story.
I'm
Okay.
there with
And
that.
then we're going to look at a Frederick Brown short story called Blood about vampires who are traveling through time in a time machine.
Oh,
Oh,
that
wow.
sounds amazing.
And
I need to read that.
and
Yes.
I asked the students to write about, is this story horror or science fiction, or is it a comedy? And it's all three, because of
Oh,
the vampires and the time travel, and even a brief discussion of some scientific facts about time travel. And of course, the way it ends is a comical surprise.
okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
look that one up, Frederick Brown, Blood.
Okay. I'll
Cool.
put that. I'm gonna type
Blood.
that. Is it let's see. Blood by, is it FREDER or
ERIC. Yes, Frederick Brown.
okay. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, and another story that I love to do with the students is by Maya Angelou, Why I'm Not a Complainer.
Yes, I
A
like
true
that one.
story of a talk between her and her grandmother when she was a little girl. But that one is a great one. And then I asked the students to write about why you are not a complainer, or why you are a complainer.
That's great.
That would definitely be something
Perfect.
interesting to
Oh, read.
know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I always loved listening to Maya Angelou. I've seen her a couple times before she died, and she always had that cadence every time she would read her poems or anyone else's poems,
mhm.
that you just get lost in it, because her voice was like, in my opinion, like molasses. It was like that warm, comfortable like you just heated up in the microwave and it was just flowing over you as she was reading. And then not only that, but the things that she would write about were so what's the word I'm looking for? Relatable. You
Yeah.
know, they were things that no matter what, everyone had kind of experienced or had something to do relating to that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was sad whenever she passed, but I'm so glad that we got to we have her poetry and stuff to continue on, kind of like with Poe. So it's always good that we have those continuations, that their life is in their works. I mean, Poe
Mhm.
pretty much everything is his life in his works. And
Yeah. One more line I want to pick out and talk about real quick, because we've got a little bit more time, is the mystery which binds me still. And in leading up to it, it's right after, and all I loved alone. Then in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life was drawn from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still. And so I pondered that for a bit, and I didn't write anything down of what I kind of thought. It kind of makes me think of, what is this he's referring to? Is it just, you know, why is he thinking, why are all these people leaving me? The mystery of I'm being left alone. Is it, what is that mystery he's talking about? And so I just thought that was just fascinating, that line thrown in there.
And why am I so different from everybody else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I said it a little bit, Carmen. I touched on it really quickly before you got here. To me, I
Okay.
was just thinking, I mean, I said it really quickly, like that line is just kind of like almost like a spiritual like awakening, that
Yeah.
something happened and then he kind of it kind of all made sense for him. It's like whatever it was, and then he was able to see, like, okay, I'm this way because of this XYZ demon or whatever it is. I'm because this is why I am, because of how I am.
Yeah.
How I
That
took
makes
it.
that makes sense. I thought it was just really interesting, especially just thinking about, there is the mystery of his death and how he died. And so it just, I don't know, with this being the most autobiographical poem, I don't know, it's spooky to me with that line,
Well,
because of thinking about that.
yeah, well, it kind of makes sense. Like, where I didn't realize this, but Dr. Jeff had said it, that his stepmother had passed away right around the same time that this was
Yes,
written.
that,
So
and
that
I
could
didn't
be
read
like that
that. Yeah.
awakening, or yeah, maybe you said, sorry, somebody said
Yeah,
the
he did.
awakening, of, like maybe this is kind of changed his outview on life. Like now he is alone because he's not going to get any help from his stepfather, and maybe he did really, yeah, feel alone.
Yeah. And then Will added, I think that mystery is just him finally saying, but why is this aloneness overcoming me? Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, it just, I don't know, it just, and again, I was doing this while I was waiting on parents, and so I had some people come in and out, and so I don't know, it just, I wrote it down. I was like, what is this? I need to think about it, and I should have listened. I should have thought about it more in the car, but that's okay. No, y'all had good insight.
well, the one interesting thing that I have put together is that you can tell the certain people and the way they're affected by certain things, how they congregate. Like we were talking earlier, you know, things that we love and we would appreciate, other people kind of look at us strangely, like we've grown two heads, or we're like, the Mothman and all this kind of stuff put together. But then it wasn't until one day I was having a conversation with my best friend Julie, and it did not hit me that there are some people that don't have any experience with death or any kind of feelings of abandonment or any type of avenues like that in the early parts of their life. It's not until they've gotten mid age, maybe, or in their late 30s before they start experiencing that.
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about it and going, oh my God, uh, you know, how can you not have that in your life? How can you not experience death or something like that of someone else? Because my earliest memory, well, one of my earliest memories, I was 3 years old at my grandfather's funeral. So death has been like the marker of my, growing up years and everything. It's like, but you're telling me that you didn't experience an actual death of like a grandparent and stuff until she was like almost 30 something. And I'm going, wow, that just blows my mind. So it's really kind of hard to fathom that there's people that are not experiencing what Poe is writing about, that
Yeah.
they don't understand that. And that's why maybe sometimes they respond like Will said with, oh, cool, and then change the subject because it's not, it's not part of their makeup, their building blocks. So I think it's like, okay.
Yeah, they can't relate with those experiences. It's even beyond like an empathy sympathy kind of
Yeah.
feeling, because
Mhm.
it's more about, can't have you experienced this, not necessarily about your feelings, but just have you lived through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have, it's like people that have gotten in car accidents. If you've never been in a car accident, you don't know what it's like to have that reaction to a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
Or a broken bone, or illness, or anything else like that. So it just never dawned on me until that conversation, and then I'm going, no wonder some of my life and my friends have just kind of left me, because I am so alone in my experiences in my life and what I'm going through. So that to me is why Poe speaks out in this poem.
Yeah.
Is he's like, why me? Hey, that would have been a good title. Why me?
Yeah, and I think because this is my collection, and it's not in alone is not in the actual, like where it says poems. I don't even think it's actually in. I was doing a double check. This was something I wanted to look at. It's not even in another section, which I thought was really interesting because it is the complete work or complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe, but that one is not in there. I
What
was
year is
shocked.
that from?
Let's see. I've had this for a while. This is 1992, and I've had it that long.
Hold on, let me grab mine.
Which, man, that makes me feel old.
Oh. Well, and it wouldn't surprise me it not being in there, considering that it wasn't published until 1875, and it wasn't originally part of his grouping, because isn't all those collections of works by what was the dude's name that hated him, that
Griswold.
Yeah, why can't I know it always starts with a G, but for some reason
we're
I
gonna
want to
start
Just don't say his name a third time, okay? He might come back.
Okay.
I kept wanting to call him Gargamel, but I'm like, he's not.
Well,
oh,
remember
please.
National Lampoon's Vacation, Griswold.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
But we're going to say it in Jerry Seinfeld fashion, like Newman. Griswold.
Okay.
I'm just going to call him Gargamel.
Oh, I think Jeff was going to say something.
Yes. In many collections of poetry or stories of not only Poe but other writers too, the juvenilia, the poems written in their childhood and youth are put in the back of the book or put in a different section and pointed out that, well, these poems were written when he was just a kid.
Yeah.
And someone a minute ago was saying that wonder why this poem is overlooked, why it's not more popular or read. And sometimes the juvenile works of the writers are sort of looked on as lesser. And sometimes that might be true from a technical standpoint or a life experiential standpoint, but not always. I mean, many of the writers have a genius from the very beginning, and they start out great and just go from there even higher.
Mm-hmm. That is very true.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think H.P. Lovecraft is like that too. I think some of the ones that I like, it was like one he wrote when he was 18 was one of my favorite ones. I was like, but yeah, it's kind of shunned. It's like, I think it's called The Cave or something. I'm like, oh, I really like that one.
But on the other hand, Langston Hughes's poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, was written when he was 18.
Mm-hmm.
And people kind of forget that fact. They think maybe he was older, but no, he was 18 and riding a train crossing a river, and that's when he wrote the poem.
Yeah, Virginia, is Alone in your collection?
Yes, this particular copy is a book from 1951. And the way most of my Poe books that I have, they don't necessarily, well, I guess this one does. Yeah, this one does. They list them in not necessarily alphabetical order, but in the order in which they were released, which works with my brain.
That's how my book is. The poems are done from early to late.
Right. And so, of course, where this is in that grouping of the poems that he released with Tamerlane. So, I there's a whole forward here that I know, as I've been sitting here, I'm like, I feel like I did read something about this somewhere, and I will have to go back and look. At this particular forward, and maybe I'll post it online.
Okay, cool.
Now, my other book, I think this one is just this is just the stories. This is just stories. That's not the poems too. But this particular one is from 1951, and it does have it. And then the copy that I have right now is a newer edition collection, but it also has it in it as well.
Okay.
So I guess for some people, I guess they just admitted to or decided not to put that in.
Yeah. I've got some other smaller collections, and it could be in one of those. I'm looking over. I can't see on my shelf right now like where they would be. So it could be in those, but I don't remember. So because this is kind of my go-to that Jeannie and I use most of the time when we're not, if we don't look it up online to read from it. So
gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I was gonna say, Will, you disappeared.
Yeah.
Or you disappeared. You disappeared.
I like that cover.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah. Hey,
yeah,
if
I
you
bought it
want
in
to
Boston last year.
Oh, nice.
Been hanging out in Boston too. That's cool. Now, it does say that the website of the Maryland Historical Society includes a photograph of the original manuscript. So,
very cool. Okay.
if you ever want to see the original.
Yeah, because I think from what I read, there is somebody maybe that's related to Lucy Holmes because she did get married. I forget what her married last name was, but maybe a relative. Do they still own it? The actual original, the album that belonged to Lucy?
Let's see. Well, it says here that it was first published in E.L. Didier's Scribner's Monthly. In September of 1875. So I don't know if they still have it because it doesn't say much about Lucy. It just, it just says that it was in her work.
Okay.
So it doesn't say anything about anything else. That's it. So
okay. One thing that I think is really neat, thinking about like her autograph book or whatever you want to call it, is that that was still fashionable in the 70s. We're having like an actual autograph book. They were like this big, and you would go around and people, like if you went to a concert, getting people to sign your autograph book. And I had like two. I had a little bitty one, then I had a bigger one. I can't remember. I've got somebody's autograph in it. I think I still have them, but that was just so much fun taking those with you and getting people to do autographs. And that it's just weird to think about those things now.
Now they would charge you $250 for the sign something,
yes.
right?
Oh,
one of those Comic Cons or whatever. Oh dear, it's crazy.
Yeah, I remember the first con I went to, and we had, because you lined up and they did the autograph thing and all that. It was for the Sentinel. I don't know if anybody watched the show. It was for the Sentinel. And so I've never been big on getting autographs or, hey, meeting people like that, or it's okay, it's fun, but I just look at them as just regular people. It doesn't thing. And so one of my friends I was with, she told me, she said, "You're not allowed to speak to any of them." I went, "What?" She said, "You are not allowed to open your mouth and say one word to them."
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "Because you're too blunt." And I'm like, "What does that mean?" She goes, "Well, one of them asked you if you wanted an autograph from them, and you told them no, you had some at home."
Jeannie, like, they're not wrong about you. I mean, come on.
So I was like, well, I didn't think anything about it. It wasn't that I was trying to be rude or anything. I was just being honest. I got some,
I'm the same way, Jeannie. I did the same thing at this one because I took my niece to the New York Comic Con. She spent, it was like $550 to record him saying something as an anime cartoon character and an autograph. And he's like, "What about you?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not paying for your autograph. I'm sorry." Like, sorry.
Well, yeah, and that was like, I didn't think anything about it. So, but since then, every convention or con that I've been to, especially because the last one I ever went to was the Supernatural one, and that was just mostly because they drugged me. It wasn't because none of that had anything wrong. They actually liked the stories for the first season, because it had that supernatural vibe and all that kind of cool thing about the Wendigos and all that, since vampires. And I was like, oh yeah, that's my thing, my jam. And then they got really off the wall, and I went, this sucks, but okay.
But you still had Dean Winchester. You still have him. I mean, come on.
Exactly. I mean, I still got Dean and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with autographs, but I'm like, now, why would you pay that much just for somebody's signature? What bait? Yeah. Oh, and football players, baseball players, all that. I mean, sure, don't get me wrong. If somebody told me they had Jackie Robinson's autograph on a baseball, that would be cool. That to me, because that's the historical aspect of it.
Yeah.
Not because I have some kind of fanatical, not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying I call myself a fan, but I don't think I fit in with fanatical, that true kind of stalkerish behavior. Because
you're not mailing anybody a body part. Yeah,
exactly. My first and only concert I've ever been to was New Kids on the Block when I was 18.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it wasn't a choice by any means. It's because my best friend's cousin couldn't go because she got grounded, so I got drug along. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, hey, don't get me wrong. I loved NKOTB, but I just loved the music. I wasn't a fangirl, But I almost died because of those fangirls. They heard a motorcycle, and Donnie Wahlberg was like driving in underneath the overpass because it was at Thompson Bowling Arena. And next thing, I'm just standing there, I'm just hanging out, didn't know anything. Next thing I know, I'm hanging over the side with all 300 of these girls trying to kill me. And I'm going, I hate people. Let me go.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I'd probably be stalkerish of Poe too. I'd follow him if he had like poem readings and stuff like that. But
too.
But it's just weird. It's just odd. But
Oh yeah.
I digress. Anyway, so do we have any other comments about Alone? Because I think we ventured down my side road, Carmen, and you did a horrible job of keeping me on track. I told them that I would keep on track until you got here, and then you had to be in charge of keeping me back on the road.
I was letting you go down a little rabbit hole or around a couple of turns on the motorcycle.
Yeah, see, hey, at least I didn't venture into the religion
All right.
sidebar today,
All
so
right.
we're not going there.
We probably
no.
don't have time to start that now, but that
No.
probably is another level in this poem. But
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
It is,
yeah,
but I didn't go there.
does anybody else have any other thoughts on the poem Alone?
Okay, well, Will says I definitely liked it, and as someone who likes to write poems, it's given me some inspiration after a dry spell. Well, that's good.
Oh, nice. Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we've mentioned this, and one thing that we are planning, we're going to be doing our Poet Like Poe poetry contest the entire month of April. Last year we got it started a little bit later into April, and so looking at the date, I think it's March 30th. Yeah, March 30th is the Saturday, there's Sunday the 31st, but that's Easter. But Saturday the 30th is kind of when we're thinking about doing our kind of live poetry reading to kind of get that going. So anybody on here that wants to, we would love to showcase you guys doing a poetry reading. You could do
We've
your
had that
own.
conversation.
Yes, we have. Yes, Virginia and I talked about it at the Poe Fest, and so I would say, is that a good date? You think? I was just like, it'll be right
March
before it.
30th.
Yeah, and so we would love to have you guys
Let's
if
do
you
it.
want to do a reading of Poe's poetry. If you've got some of your own poetry, we just want to get people, excited about writing poetry and submitting for the contest. So,
Yep.
be good.
So, yeah, it'll be an interesting thing to do.
And then November 28th is our next Poe Unplugged. And we will be having Erin Adams, who is the education director for the Hermitage, joining us. And I know she's already started reading King Pest and getting ready for it because she was like, I've read it a while ago. I've got to reread and really sink that into my brain to talk about it. Let's see. Micah says, if you could use my Raven video for it, let me know. Yes, Micah, that would be amazing. And
with the straight jacket, yes, I really want to see that when you're talking about that.
So
yes,
do I.
Yes. And then, so yes, so we will be doing King Pest with Mr. President Andrew Jackson. He's bobbling his head. So I guess he's saying no. But
sounds about right.
Let's see. Hold on, Micah. If I can find it real quick, because he shared the video with me, I might be able to show it. Are you good if I do that, Micah?
I don't know if you have sharing. I think I made it to where you can share.
Okay. He
Since
said
we're on
yes.
mine, so yeah.
Okay. Y'all want to stay on here a little bit longer and see it? Because it's amazing.
Well, since I'm recording, I don't know if I want to record that since we're gonna have him do, unless Micah, if you're okay with it. Because didn't you say we're gonna do it again in like April?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine.
Okay, let's see. I think this may be it. Give me just a minute. Let's see if this is it. No, that's not it. Hold on. I'm sorry. I should have thought about this earlier. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Oh, here it is, I think. No, I cannot find it.
Well, we can
You could
always
send it to us in an email or
No,
I
no,
say
Yeah.
next
I
time.
can wait till
I
Yeah.
got it. I got it. I found it. I knew I had to be more specific with the way I was searching for it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we can also put the link up when we post it too, in case people want to go see it.
Oh, actually, the way he transferred it, it expired. So yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. So
Okay. So yeah,
yeah.
we'll share the link via
That's
the
okay.
Poe Unplugged and the email. So
Yeah.
and then Micah will if you can send it to us again just in case something, because she said it expired. So
Yeah, I guess it's probably only for a short time period. And yeah, because I
Okay.
tried it a different way and it didn't work. So
okay.
yeah, but
All right.
I have seen it and it is amazing. It is
Yep.
so cool.
I have
It's
two, and I
really
give
cool.
it 2 thumbs up.
Yes.
All right. So, but so if we don't have anything else, we've already got our date for next November.
Yes.
Next and not next November. That's a little far out. But
Wow,
in November, which is
Very long.
ironic since we're talking about King Pest, it's in the month of the election times. So that's
Yes.
next year. I guess that's why I jumped into next year, because I was like, hey, I don't want to, not looking forward to that.
Yeah, well, we've got our poetry reading in April, and we also are lining up several more guests that made a lot of contacts at Poe Fest, and I think Will jumped off here.
Yeah, he had to go. So
Yeah, and so it's very exciting because we're getting to the point where we're probably going to start having possibly 2 guests for the month. And so that means 2 interviews a month as well. So I know Holly's like,
Wow.
yay, more content.
yeah.
yay.
I feel like now it's like as soon as you send the email, I was like, all right, well, I watched it. I'm like, more. Yeah, little pouty kid.
Yeah, and
All right.
Mark DeWidziak, met him through Jeff, which is awesome. Thank you. And he'll be on for December. We have one more that I think he's probably going to end up being also with December. I'm not going to say who it is, but Holly will be like, oh my
I
gosh.
already know who it is.
You know who it is.
I think I know who it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyway, so yeah, thanks everybody for joining us. This was awesome
Thank
tonight.
you.
Yep. And
Thank
we
you.
will see you guys in a few weeks. Have a good
Happy-
happy Halloween.
Happy
Yeah, happy
Halloween.
Happy
Yes,
Halloween.
happy Halloween. Have a great one. Be safe.